We're out of time. Welcome to Broadsword for the Stage and Screen, the DeLongis method. I've been working with a sword for a long time, nearly 30 years professionally now. What we're going to be doing in this video is showing you the techniques that I've evolved over a career that spanned almost 3 decades, working both sides of the camera as both a performer and a fight director. I'd like to congratulate you for taking responsibility for your own training. When you work in this business, you're going to find time is always in short supply. The atmosphere you're going to find yourself working in can be pretty overwhelming unless you have really thoroughly prepared yourself. You have the skills you show up with that day on the set. The set is not the place to be learning your craft. You're going to find the physical dimensions that you work in are going to be cramped. The surface will almost always be user unfriendly, and you really have to have your techniques down. We're not going to be doing a great deal of review in this video. There's too much information I want to cover. I spent a great deal of time on the basic techniques of grip and distance and stance and footwork and both attacks and defenses using both the edge and the point of the weapon in rapier for the stage and screen, the DeLongis method. I recommend that you buy and study this tape and work on it until these techniques become second nature to you. So you don't have to think about them, they're just there. This is the vocabulary we're going to utilize and then make just slight adjustments for the heavier weapon that the broadsword is. Broadsword is a little bit more difficult to manage. The potential for injury is greater than it is, I think, with the rapier or the small sword. It's just bigger and heavier, especially if you find yourself working with steel. So you really need to have your basics down. I'm going to give you a lot of information in this tape. So work on your basics. This tape is geared to an intermediate and advanced level sword fighter. To me, fights are visual and emotional high-octane storytelling. Choreography is dialogue with action instead of words. The same processes that go on as you're creating your character for your verbalization should happen in the choices that you make with your choreography. It's got to advance the story, it's got to articulate the character. And this is a very, very powerful, visceral storytelling device. In this tape, it's not any attempt to recreate the accurate historical style of fighting for any particular period. My goal in this tape is to get you moving comfortably and effectively with the broadsword so you can really tell a powerful story. Let's get started. Selecting the practice weapon. There are a lot of very viable choices. Let's start with the cheapest one, wood. This is a piece of rattan dowel. I like rattan very much because it has a fibrous core. It's very durable. It doesn't break easily. Softwoods like pine, I don't recommend because even with moderate force, they can snap in half and send a bit of forest shrapnel into the surrounding audience. This rattan, I think you will find will work very well for you. It's lightweight, it's inexpensive, and can simulate the sword quite nicely. This is the shinai. It's a Japanese kendo practice weapon. It's split bamboo that's been wrapped with leather, has a very nice handle, has a little tsuba or handguard here. This cord on the back helps you simulate the edge of the blade, which helps you with your alignment. As we're working, we'll talk more about body and skeletal alignment. But again, this works very, very well. It can withstand quite a bit of force because of its structure. It dissipates that energy. The shinai. The bokken. This is another Japanese practice weapon. This is designed to simulate the kendo, or the katana rather. It's carved in the shape of the blade, so it's very easy to get a good sense of the sword. It's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than a simple piece of wooden dowel. It's hardwood. It's quite durable, providing you don't get too carried away, but it's very unforgiving. This will break your fingers and split your skull, so you want to pay attention to what you're doing with this. Steel. Never my first choice as a performance or even a practice weapon. I do like to practice with it on occasion because it's a good reminder of the weight of a steel weapon. When you're utilizing other choices, which we'll talk about in a moment, they are usually lighter weight, and sometimes people can start flailing away and you lose the illusion that you're working with something that requires your entire body to help sell that story. These often come sharp. If you're going to practice with one of these, the first thing you want to do is take the edge off. Steel. This is as close to the real thing as it gets. The real weapon wasn't a heavy, unwieldy monstrosity. A man would often have to fight all day with this, providing he had the skills to survive that long, and a weapon that was too heavy for him was going to cost him dearly. You want to find a weapon that suits your strength and your body style. It should feel like it's a logical extension. It should be easy to work with. Shop around a little bit. Again, I like to rehearse with steel. When possible, I prefer not to perform with it. It's just too heavy and too dangerous. Aluminum. I get the same dimensions as with a steel weapon, but I don't have all that weight that I have to control. It makes them much safer. What I do need to remember is it requires my body to tell the story that this is a heavy weapon, but it becomes more of an illusion. This is easier to manipulate, and I find it much more effective as a storytelling device. I recommend aluminum. I'm going to begin by reviewing the single hand techniques that have been covered in Rapier for the stage and screen before moving on to the changes that adding the second hand will bring to the mix. First thing is the grip. I favor the same pivoting grip that I described in Rapier for the stage and screen because it keeps the blade alive. It gets the blade to do the work for me. Many people make the mistake of gripping this thing so tightly they turn this into a club. You've heard the expression of a live blade. I like the analogy in the novel Scaramouche where working with a blade is like holding a bird in your hand. If you squeeze it too tightly, you crush the life out of it. If you don't hold it tightly enough, it of course flies away. The ideal is to have this sense that this is living in your hand and it's a part of you. It's a logical extension of you. You get a nice recoil and the blade will actually become an ally for you instead of this adversary that you have to battle with all the time. I don't favor breaking the wrist, which I will describe to you in just a moment. It is simply a matter of I extend the arm so it's clear that I'm the attacker. The defender, of course, will retract and absorb, and we'll cover that again in a minute. But I extend with the blade vertical. When I squeeze my hand, the tip of the blade describes a gentle 30-degree arc. This is my cut in all positions. Vertical to the head, palm up, horizontal for the inside or chest, palm down, horizontal for the outside or shoulder. But I have fingertip control of the weapon at all times because it is a small range of motion, okay? Whether I come from here or I roll it or whatever I do, the last part of my action is extending the hand and squeezing the fingers. I literally have fingertip control. Bob, could I have you for a moment? So without Bob pairing, he knows that when I extend, oh, the attack is coming. When I squeeze, I can stop this at any point, okay? When I go out to proper distance, I of course can't hit him anyway. When Bob extends to a 5 parry, I extend and squeeze, and you'll notice this blade is alive. I have a recoil. This recoil will carry me to my next cut, or it will carry me to my own defense. So we have a conversation going on. This is alive. It's not two people out there bludgeoning each other, okay? Now, the reason I don't favor bending the wrist is because, first of all, if I bend the wrist and raise the weapon, I can potentially defeat my partner's parry. Also, raising the hand in film is a terrible idea because it covers your own face. But finally, bending the wrist isolates all of the energy into one small area instead of dissipating it throughout the whole arm and torso. By isolating it here, this is a very famous disarm position, okay? This is the key to any practical disarm, is to isolate the energy into one small area and then just take it. So you are potentially disarming yourself or throwing away your own control of your weapon every time you bend the wrist and put all the energy into that one small spot. I prefer to extend, squeeze the hand, and it's just that simple. Two of our strongest safety precautions are targeting and distance. First off, let's talk about distance. If you imagine dividing the sword in half, your attack should be made in the middle of the top half of the blade, your defenses or parries made in the middle of the bottom half. Also, our targets, for our purposes to begin with, I'm going to review again with the one-handed targets, will be straight for the head, that's a vertical, and then horizontal just under the shoulder, right at the deltoid and tricep junction here, on the inside or chest side, and on the outside or shoulder side. And then the low line parries, I like to take just below the belt, just above the hip socket, again on the inside and the outside. Those are our targets. Cuts to the legs will become special occasions, and we will target them specifically. I work a lot in film, and I find that keeping the story from the hips up allows the entire story to play the entire time. All right, so targets are straight for the head, just under the shoulder at the deltoid tricep, and right here just below the hips. Bob, if I could have you for a moment, please. Now, in terms of distance, if I am this close, I am too close. Now, if Bob parries, we should be all right. This has a very congested feel to it. Also, I find it very hazardous because I can really hit it. The distance I prefer, again, is that division of the blade. When I extend out here, I am in the middle of the top half of my blade. Now, you'll notice I can't actually hit Bob. Because Bob extends in his parry, however, it looks like he is intercepting my blade before it can get to him. So we've built in a safety precaution of distance and a good structural parry, which we'll cover in just a moment. Same thing here is palm down. Here's the outside shoulder. Palm up. Here's the inside or chest. Palm down into the low line. I like to bend my knees just a little bit more. There's the outside hip. And palm up. Here's the inside hip. All right? So those are our targets, and those are our distances. Before we proceed, I'd like to introduce my motley crew. Robert Chapin, who you remember from Rapier for the Stage and Screen. Dave Baker, who has made most of the weapons we'll be using today. And Dr. Mary Gallion. Let's talk more fight. We're going to begin by reviewing a standard on-guard position. We'll be starting with the one-handed guard that we worked with in Rapier for the Stage and Screen. It'll be a right-hand linear guard or straight line guard. Later on, we'll be working off angle and also in a reverse guard. But for right now, it's the standard right-hand guard where your right hand and your right foot are forward. Imagine an invisible line that you and your partner share. Your feet are on either side of the line. Classically, with small sword and rapier work, the line cuts the rear heel and your foot is in the center. I prefer to straddle the line because with the footwork we're going to be doing later on, this just makes it much easier and it gives you a slightly broader base. Your feet are about the distance of a single pace and the knees are bent. It is very important to work with the knees bent for a couple of reasons. One, it lowers your center of gravity and improves your balance. On the defense, the bent knees act as a shock absorber. On the attack, they act as coiled springs to drive your attack forward. Nothing negates the story you're trying to tell as fast as straightening your legs. Right away, all the tension has gone out of the scene because your body language is saying, nothing's going to happen here. I'm out for a nice relaxing walk in the woods. So it's very important once you settle down and are ready to begin, your knees bend. All right? In addition, in the unguard position, you and your partner, your swords intersect or engage, if you're going to start from an engaged or touching position, over this line. So if I was working with Bob, could I have you come in, please? One nice easy check of distance is the tip of the blade going to the edge of the guard, or the quillins in this case, if you would. Good, and we would adjust to here. Now, for an engagement, We'll just start this for a point of reference. Our engagement is right over this line. This will become important later as we start doing X cuts, drawing X cuts here. We're going to be meeting over this line, but a standard unguarded engagement, whether I start with my blade down or my blade up, we are meeting over the blades and our feet are each straddling this line. So that is a standard linear unguarded alignment, which is where we'll begin. Let's review our defensive vocabulary, or parries, beginning with our standard right-hand guard. I'm going to start with 4 and 3, or tierce and carte, again covered in great detail in Rapier for the Stage and Screen. These are the two highline parries. This protects me on the chest side. This protects me on the shoulder side. All right, 4, 3, lift the hand to 2, straight across to 1. So my vertical parries are 1 or prime, 2 seconde, tierce, 3, 4 carte, 5 quinte, and 6 sixte. This is all review. The thing to remember, when you are parrying, your arm bends to absorb and dissipate the energy. Also, another one of our foundation techniques is the fact that your hand is behind the blade, your elbow is behind your hand, your body is behind the elbow. This is very important. So you always have your body behind your arm and you have structural skeletal alignment. Later on, when we start moving into two-handed work and changing our footwork, this becomes extremely important. Make sure you are always behind this wall of steel, or in this case aluminum, but this wall of steel that you are creating, okay? Seen from the side, this is 4 and 3. These are the two simplest ones, the first parries that you learn. The low line are here and up to 5. Now, let's begin now to start to use the weight of the weapon to work for us. If you reach downward for your low line parries, not only do you have a tendency to drop below the target areas that we've discussed, and on film, they love to come in and cover you very close. They think that it brings you closer into the fight. That's an argument we'll have at another time. But with that idea in mind, as coverage comes in closer, if your hand drops below your waist, the story disappears. So I like to take and lift my hand up here. There's a second advantage to this. You can get gravity to do the work for you. You notice this is like a pendulum. If I drop my hand in my highline parry, this automatically drops the blade into this vertical wall of steel that I'm looking for. If I lift my hand, the blade lifts and drops into place. And we still have that same 45-degree angle that we talked about in Rapier for the Stage and Screen. Okay? So from here, here's 1. This is level. Now you'll notice my hand is covering the upper target while the blade protects the target that's being cut into, right here at my waist. Straight across to 2. Out 45 degrees with my elbow behind my hand. Drop my elbow, drop my hand, and the blade automatically moves into this nice vertical. Straight across to 4, 45-degree angle. Remember, I have the same distance here that I have here. Don't come over here or you reopen the target. It's out in front of you, and lift straight up to 5. And the reverse here is 6. So by the numbers, 1. Remember, the reason for this is if someone pulls a dirty move, I just don't even have to get it out of my scabbard. That's your first parry. 1, straight across to 2, drop the hand to 3, straight across to 4, straight up to 5, reverse to 6, and notice how this is slightly forward, and my elbow's behind my hand, and my body's behind my elbow. Review. Let's look at these parries again real quick. Parry 4. Now you'll notice that in these parries, they're out in front of his body. Okay, it can be back close to the body, but it's out in front, and this is at a 45-degree angle. So the distance he's traveled is the same as right here, all right? Do not let the arm get behind you. Keep this slightly in front. Here's 4, back to 3, great. Now you notice he needs to keep this out so the elbow's behind. If he's here, This looks like a good strong parry, but coming in on an angle, it doesn't have skeletal alignment. The earmark of this technique is that everything we do moves so that the elbow is behind the hand and you have the bone in the forearm to do the work instead of how strong your grip is. This is much easier. It dissipates the energy throughout the entire body. When he goes to the low line, his hand lifts, so it's up to shoulder height, and this extends ever so slightly, so this is a straight line with the wrist unbent, the elbow behind the hand. This is out at a 45-degree angle and straight across to 1. Up to 5. You notice our proper distance is such that I really can't hit him, but I am making contact with his blade with the middle of the upper part of my body. Okay? Now, let's take another quick look at something. Just as a simplification, every cut that you make to the inside or the open chest side is going to be palm up. I'll move back to proper distance. So this is chest. Okay? If I go down to the low line, down to the belt, I'm still palm up. Every cut to the outside will be palm down, like so. All right? Now, when he is defending, my hand is extended, my hand is palm up. This is a horizontal attack against a vertical defense. Back to the high line. Horizontal attack, vertical defense. Here, this is palm up, this is palm down. With the cut to the head, this is a vertical attack and a horizontal defense. In other words, we are always meeting on the perpendicular, or making a plus sign, if you will. This is going to be important because later on we're going to move into diagonals and things are going to change ever so slightly. Okay? Let's do our first drill to really cement in these basics. It's going to be called box in 4. I'm going to make a box around Bob, going high, high, low, low. Bob will cut head, I will cut head, and then we will reverse. It's called box in 4 because I'm making a box pattern and I'm beginning in the 4 line, or his cart position. All right? We will start from out of distance. So I can't hit anything. When he's on guard, I can't even hit his sword. I have to take one simple step. So I will advance to the distance of the middle of the top half of the sword, as we discussed before. And I will cut high, palm up, palm down, palm up, palm down. Bob will cut my head. I will cut his head, and then Bob will do the same thing with me. High, high, low, low. I will cut head, and Bob will cut head. All right, box in 4. Next step is to add movement with that. A simple advance and retreat. When it's my attack, I will do a simple step. So we want perfect cuts, perfect parries, perfect distance, and a perfect advance and retreat. Starting from out of distance, so I have to move into distance. High, advance, low, advance, low. It's Bob's turn. He advances. I retreat. I advance. He retreats. And high, high, low, low, head, head, and then we'll step back out of distance again. Work to be specific, work to be consistent, and start to try and get your partner's timing. This is a simple 4-4 timing of high, high, low, low, with a head-head exchange. Box in 4. Practice. Let's visit an old friend, X in 4. So remember, this was a drill that we used to practice our parries and our attacks in Rapier for the stage and screen. It's as if, Mary, I have drawn an X on my partner's chest. I'm going to start X in 4, so starting in the high 4 line, and change sides and go low over here to 2, come straight back across to 1, and hit the final point of the X, which is 3 up here. And we will have a head-head transition in between. Starting from out of distance, we'll engage the blades just as a point of reference. I will advance into distance, and then we will stop and work on perfect cuts, perfect parries. So from here, high to low, low to high. In my head parry, I will make sure that my upper arm stays forward and the elbow doesn't drift out. Then I will come back to her, and she will cut her cuts high and low and low, and I drop my hand to high, extend and squeeze, and parry, stepping out of distance. When we've got that, when we're satisfied with each other's parries, and help your partner, all right? You are your partner's outside eye. Sometimes it's really difficult to be aware when you're in the middle of all this. Make sure that the elbow is bent, that the body's behind the elbow. Make sure on the head parry that this upper arm stays up, because this keeps it very fast, very light, and very safe. When you drift out here like this, you lose your skeletal alignment, and you are actually pulling the blade towards your face. Keep it out here in front of you where it can't do you any harm. When you've got perfect cuts, perfect parries, and perfect distance, add simple advance and retreat. When it's my turn, when I'm attacking, I will take an advance. Starts like this. From out of distance, again, we will engage just for fun, and I will step into distance. This is the distance we are going to maintain. And advance, advance, advance. It's her turn, so I retreat, and I advance, and now she attacks 4 times. Drop my hand, lift my hand, straight across, drop my hand, elbow behind, advance, retreat, and step out of distance. Okay? This is an ideal exercise to really lock in those basics. You've got to know these because we're just about to go into new information, and I want you to have a good, solid foundation. Okay? Practice, X and 4. All right. We're to that exciting point where we begin the new information. We're going to add the second hand. I would like to stay in the right hand linear on guard to begin with before we start reversing the guard and changing to our angles. And it's important to remember to keep the same protocol that's been keeping us safe up to this point. In other words, we'll be extended for our attacks, we'll be bending and absorbing and dissipating the energy in our defense, and we will have the proper distance that we've been working on in our previous exercises, all right? Now, when you add the second hand, it's very important you should still maintain a right hand dominance, all right? You're going to find that this left hand works very, very well in support, but if you grip with it, it will try to take over and it will negate your ability to do our skeletal alignment, which is what keeps us safe, okay? So let's look at our parries with the two-hand adjustment. Now from here, all right, center line, when I go to 4, there's going to be just a slight adjustment of the body. Not very much for right now, particularly not in this right-hand guard. When I come down to 2, I come to here. Now, I can only get over so far, so I'm going to adjust just a little bit. I'm going to let this foot shift out so my knees are underneath me. 1, still keeping the right foot forward, which we will talk about in just a moment. But for right now, keep the right foot forward. There's 1, and then I drop my hand to parry 3. Now here I can't quite get over, so I'm going to turn just a little bit. I'm going to turn so that my hips and feet start to face what's coming at me, okay? And my attacks will still be extend and squeeze. This second hand acts as a very nice support here, and my defense will be here in 6 with the left hand support, or in 5, all right? Again, very important, make sure that this hand doesn't take over. It plays a supporting role. It will add to your skeletal alignment, but as soon as you grip with this, it will take over and destroy what we've been working on. All right? One other thing. In the attacks, palm up, palm down. Still think in terms of your right hand being dominant. You're going to find that you're going to have one arm long and one arm slightly bent. My right arm is long, my left arm is there by way of support. It's slightly bent and underneath, okay? This still reads like an attack. If I have both arms long, I have thrown away my control of the sword. Basically, you'll notice I am now no longer doing that nice 30-degree, 90 to 60 angle here like this. As soon as both arms go long, I am to this. And basically that sword will keep traveling until it hits something, all right? Left hand supports. Let's look at X and 4. Dave, if you would. So I'm going to start from out of distance. When I step in, we will work with our X and 4 exercise. I want to be here. Now, I don't want to be too close. If I'm above the center of my blade, I am close enough to actually hit him. He has his elbows in front of him, which puts the blade a distance in front. It's an extended parry. But with the elbows behind, it's very strong and very solid, and the energy dissipates into the body. I want to be making my attack right here. And again, we're going to work with the right foot forward for now before we start adding the hips. So extend and squeeze, and I come around and go low. He turns into this just a little bit to make it a little easier. Straight across to 1, drops his hand to 3. He cuts my head. I cut his head. Good, and then he attacks me. Starting in 4, X and 4 high, low, low, high, head, and you can go to either 6 or 5. And notice how my body is behind this, the elbows bent. Right? When you've got that, add simple movement. Again, an advance on the attack. We'll start from out of distance. I will move in to set the distance. We will maintain this distance. Low, low, high. If I get too close, I will adjust. Good, and he comes to me. See, if I'm too close on my next one, he won't step quite as far, and I will adjust accordingly. Try to set and maintain perfect distance. And here. And notice how the arm extends each time for each attack. X and 4, 2 hands, right foot guard, right foot forward, right hand forward, left arm working in a support capacity. Give it a try. Well, congratulations. You're doing really well. I had you do the difficult thing first. Moving from a 2 to a 1 is kind of awkward. So let's see if we can make this a little bit easier. When we were working with the rapier, we used this parry occasionally, septime, or number 7. This is a good deflection parry. It's not very powerful. To use in two-handed work, I need this second arm, and I like to add the leg to it, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. But for right now, remember we had this nice pendulum action of dropping the hand in 3, lifting in 2, getting gravity to do the work for us? What I'd like to do here is parry 2, palm down, let the blade drop the hand so the blade comes back up through center, and lift the hand and go to palm up, and this will give you your septime. Use the second hand as the brace, use the elbow and the forearm as your skeletal alignment. But we lift the hand, the blade falls. Lift the hand, the blade falls. So we're moving from 2 to 7, from second to septime, with a slight pivot of the body and that rear foot to allow you to do this very easily. All right? So with that idea in mind, let's do the box in 4. We will go high, high, low, low. So you'll be parrying 4, 3, 7, and up through center to 2 with a head-head transition. All right? Dave, if you would, please. So once again, I will start out of distance. So neither one of us can hit anything. I will step in to establish the distance. High, high. We're not going anywhere yet. Low, and then up and around, low. Dave cuts my head. I cut his head. Good. And then he does the same thing. High, high. I lift my hand, and again, I lift, and the blade pivots right through. I cut his head. He cuts my head. Okay? When you have that, perfect cuts, perfect parries, perfect distance, add simple movement, still linear right foot forward. We're going to add the second foot in just a minute. But right here, I will step in, establish distance, high, and with each of my attacks, and drop the hand, straight across, lift the hand, let this pivot, and head, head, back to distance. Okay? Box in 4, working with septime. Remember to get that elbow between you and what's coming at you, and the second hand in support. Don't let it take over or the elbows drift out and you lose your skeletal alignment. Give it a try. Excellent. Now you're really starting to get gravity to do the work for you, allowing the blade to do the work. You guide with your hand and you let the blade finish. We've been working X and 4 4, lift the hand to 2, straight across to 7, back to 3, each time automatically clearing the line. This is both combatively correct and it develops tremendous dexterity with the blade. I want to remind you of another exercise we used in rapier for the stage and screen, which was X and 3. So it's the same X pattern, but this time beginning in 3. It's a little trickier. You drop the hand, you lift the hand, you come all the way up and around to 2. Now, in order to clear the line, you've got to offer this and then come straight across. If you go from 2 to 4, you haven't done anything about what's in the middle. It looks odd, plus you're no longer building in that additional safety factor, all right? So think in terms of drop, lift, come through the center. You could go straight across, but it's much flashier to go this way, and we like that. Then you offer this, prep early, just drop the hand and come straight across to 4. So we'll do X and 3, first without movement, then adding simple movement. We will still be in our standard right foot on guard. Bob, if you come in, please. Begin from out of distance, and X and 3. High, low, low, high, head, head, and high. Good. Now with a little bit of movement. You'll notice that my body wants to move and I'm not letting it. Right now I'm having you focus on the upper body. Perfect cuts, perfect parries, perfect distance, getting a nice flow with the weapon. We're going to add the lower body in just a moment, and this is going to seem so much easier. But for right now, please stay with this standard advance and retreat, right foot linear on guard. With movement this time, and high, low, low, high. I'm going to drop my hand, lift my hand, straight across, drop, reach, recover. Good. And back to on guard. X and 3. Perfect cuts, perfect parries, perfect distance. Really try to get that blade working like a pendulum, get gravity to do the work for you. Practice. Okay, we have been working in this right-handed standard linear on guard position. I want to now start talking about the reverse guard, but more importantly, this whole illusion of power. This is the position that you hit the home run in, where you step into things. If you play tennis, you step in to unlock the hips. If you're going to try to chop down a tree, you step in, open those hips so you can get the power of the lower body into the appendage or the axe that you're working with. What's important, this is very difficult. You don't get any power from here. We've examined where this is useful. This is very nice in this linear position, but to get this look of the illusion of power, I want to step and drive off the rear foot. The other half of that image is if my partner is coming at me with all this energy, I want to step away to give myself a little distance, and I want to absorb with my rear foot, so that both parties are helping tell this story of tremendous power without actually having to deal with combat energy. We'll have a bit of a discussion on this. The difference between combative energy is the real force, the real thing, the real power. This is not what you want to perform with. This is not what you want to rehearse with. It's dangerous, it's unfair, it's hard on both you and the weapons. All right? Now, one of the things that's going to help is, let's talk about triangular footwork. We've been working linear up to this point. Now we're going to move to triangles. I am standing, and your feet don't have to be balanced on the tip, but they're essentially together. When I parry, I want to drive this rear foot back and turn the hips to point at what's coming at me. So my body is behind my elbows, and I'm absorbing with this rear leg. So the X and 4 position would be high, come back to center, step away, low, come back to center, step away, low, come back to center, step away, high. Okay? There's the defense. You're absorbing and dissipating the energy through the whole body. Conversely, when I'm attacking, I'm stepping in. So from this center guard, I'm going to step and turn the hips. There's the high. Over here, I'm going to step and turn the hips. There's the low, little more bend in the knee. Around here like this. get my feet underneath me, step, turn, and to the other side, back to center, step, and turn, okay? So there's utilizing the triangular footwork to help create this illusion of tremendous power, but that energy goes back down into the floor as opposed to into the appendage. My actual cut is still extend the arm, squeeze the fingers so the blade is last. This helps keep the cuts very visual and easy for the audience to follow the story, and it also makes it easy for my partner to get my timing so that he will delay his parry until the last possible minute, and it'll look like a real cause and effect relationship. I'd like to introduce an exercise to you to get your hips moving and to get your feet underneath you so you have the support of your lower body. So the story begins from your feet all the way up through your body, so we have skeletal structural alignment through the entire process. I want you to imagine, as I'm facing you, that this is a 12 o'clock on a clock that's on the ground. What I'm going to do is, when I'm cutting to the chest, I'm turning my rear foot to point to 10 o'clock. When I come back to cut to the shoulder, the opposite side, I'm turning my rear foot until it's pointing to 2 o'clock. This gives me that 45-degree angle. It's the same as if I was stepping in. But first I want you to start in place with the weight squared and your knees bent. And at the same time, be aware, everybody wants, they feel like the sword, it has to really be out there cutting and stuff. This is an illusion. I want instead for you to think that the arm extends, you aim with the hand, and you deliver with the body. That's the extent of my cut. Same thing here. I extend, I aim with the hand, and I deliver with the body by turning this rear foot. Now, it's important to aim with the rear foot so that you have body skeletal alignment, but also that you unlock the hip. I can only turn so far this way, and I've essentially cut myself off from the waist down. Very important, aim with the feet in order that everything be in alignment. So, from here, if I were doing the X in 4 as a drill, I would start, aim the sword horizontal, turn to 10 o'clock. Same thing over here. Aim the sword first and turn. And notice, once I have turned to 2 o'clock, my cut's done. All right? If I continue to go, all I do is pull myself out of alignment and have it take twice as long to get back where it's supposed to be. So this stays out in front. You aim with the hand. You deliver with the feet. Gentlemen, if I could have you come in. Now, this is an excellent exercise. Focusing on the feet, aiming that rear foot to point the hips. Okay? Get your feet underneath you. Allow things to happen from the body, not just in the arm. So we will start here in center. We will turn and aim. We're going to do X and 4. So I'm cutting chest, turn the rear foot, 10 o'clock. Good. Turn this over to cut low, bend the knees a little bit more, and pass through to 2 o'clock. Good. From here, aim with the hand, low on the opposite side, and up high, 2 o'clock. Good. Now from here, defend. This foot drops back, and attack. Boom. Now, just like we were doing in our defensive position, I need to support with the rear leg. So when I parry 4, I'm going to drop back. Notice that the feet point to 10 o'clock. When I come to here in center, I'm going to drop the foot back. The rear foot points to 2. Coming back through to parry low. The rear foot points to what's coming at me. So it's a mirror image. And finally, high. Good. My turn to cut. I prefer to lead with the right foot. Good. And as I come back, I could do either 6 or I could do 5. Let's do it one more time, starting from square. And aim with the hand. Cutting to 4, bend the knees, cut to 2, palm down, cut to 7, palm up, aim with the hand, deliver with the feet. Each time going 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Good. Defend, so this foot steps back, both feet point to 10 o'clock. Attack. Good. And come back here. Okay? Does that make sense? Give that a try. You're going to find you can train yourself on your own, working to get these feet and these hips supporting all the action that you're doing. Later on, we will start the step up, but for right now, just allow the hips to turn. Allow the hips to turn. Start your story from the feet up. Give it a try. Let's start putting all this together. Remember, we started with this standard linear alignment and footwork with simple advances like so. This is very expeditious, it's very straightforward, but it doesn't give much illusion of power. It's very fast though, okay? Hence, as we switch to the lighter weapons like the rapier, this is the footwork that we have a tendency to utilize most. For the illusion of power, we're using that driving from the rear foot. And this center line that we were splitting here, we are now going on opposite sides of. I'm stepping here like this, and when I'm driving, my hips are turning across the line. Hence, this is diagonal footwork. As I am defending, I try to step from one side of the line to the other because it creates the illusion that I'm moving away from the power, and it helps set up a mirror image cause and effect relationship. Let me illustrate. Mary, if you would. We'll start first with the standard linear guard, X and 4, okay, whether it be one hand or two, doesn't really matter. Or one hand, and so. Now, when using the diagonal footwork, notice how much more footwork is involved. It's still that face things with your hips in the attack, face things with your hip in the defense, and try to utilize moving diagonally across the line. X and 4, two hands. We're going to start from a squared position, almost towards this reverse guard, but let's just start square for now. So I'm going to drive off the rear foot. She's going to step to the opposite side of the line. Now, as I aim with the hands and twist, she's going to step slightly across that line. And good. Inside the line, now go outside the line. That's it. And then she comes to me, straight down center, straight down center. Now, she cuts me X and 4. I shift to this side of the line, facing it with my hips. As she comes over here, I shift. This gives me a little bit more time and extends the moment, which makes it more visual for the audience. I come to her, she comes to me. Okay? So X and 4 working with the diagonal footwork. When you've got that, try the exercise X and 3, again working with the diagonals. So from here, my first one is going to be here. As I wind up, she moves away from it and faces it with her hips. Good. As I come here, she moves away and faces it with her hips. Here. So she's moving on opposite sides of the line each time. She comes to me. I go to her. Good. X and 3. Face it with the hips. Lift the hand. Face it with the hips. Lift the hand. Aim that rear foot. Aim that rear foot. Same 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock alignment that we just practiced. She comes to me, and we back up to on guard. X and 4, X and 3, begin with your linear, then switch to your diagonal. And it's the same thing that we were working with the triangular footwork. Face it with the hips, retreat to defend, okay? And when it comes time to attack, you're starting here and you step into each cut. And be sure you turn your rear foot to point where you want to go, which is going to be 10 o'clock on the palm up position and 2 o'clock on the palm down position. It's simple. Give it a try, work with it, think about one element at a time, make this your own. Practice. As you may have noticed by now, the sword is very needy. It wants all of your attention all of the time. Do not let this happen. This has no life at all without you. This must be an extension of you. Do not turn this into a thing about the sword, all right? The sword is just one of your tools. It's an extension of your arm. It's connected to the feet. So you tell the whole story with the entire body. This just happens to be one element. To help you with that, what I'd like you to do is just rest the sword in your other arm. Think in terms of here. Now, we've been working in the vertical and the horizontal. I would now like to work in the diagonal lines. Same things apply. You aim with the hand and you deliver with the feet. It's important that your arm be fully extended. This tells the story, I am attacking, my arm is extended, I'm reaching out, okay? That is the most important thing to do with the arm, is extend. Aim with the hand, now turn that rear foot to 10 o'clock. You're done. I have now passed through my partner's body. The illusion of the cut is there, okay? For me to continue on simply pulls me off balance. That's what stroking with the sword like this does. The dog is now walking you. Instead, I want you to aim with the hand downward diagonal, turn 10 o'clock. Extend the arm, aim with the hand, downward diagonal, turn your rear foot to 2 o'clock. Extend the hand, palm up, upward diagonal. Extend the hand, palm up, turn the body, all right? We will then thrust, palm down, extend and twist. It's still 10 o'clock with the feet. Pull out, palm up, extend and thrust. This one is a bit more of a center position, okay? And then from there, horizontal abdomen cut and horizontal head cut. Let's put all that together. If you would, please. Again, once you have turned to here and passed through your partner, you're done. Okay? There is no more happening with the arm. Don't continue on or you'll just pull yourself off balance and have twice as far to go. So really be aware of the arm extending out, aiming with the hand, downward diagonal, turning the rear foot, 10 o'clock. Extend out. That's the job of the arm. Extend. Aim with the hand, 2 o'clock. Extend forward, palm up, 10 o'clock. Extend forward, palm down, 2 o'clock. Thrusting, aim, and extend and twist right along that center line. Pull it out. Aim, push with that rear hand. Extend and pull it out. Good, you're now in your 2 o'clock position. Aim with the hand for the abdomen cut, twist, and aim with the hand for the head, the neck slice, boom, right there. If I twist back to center, notice my hand is straight in front of me and the blade is on the line, all right? Let's try it two-handed. And aim, 10 o'clock. Extend the arms, palm down, 2 o'clock. Upward diagonal, extend, 10 o'clock. Upward diagonal, 2 o'clock. Thrusting, twist it out. That preps you for the next one. Twist and pull out, palm down. That puts you back into your 2 o'clock position. Aim with the hand horizontal, waist, and aim, head cut, cut through, back to unguard. Try that a few times. Working on your own, you don't have any distractions, anything else to worry about. Be aware. Work on your sensitivity, on your awareness, on your balance, and on being specific.